Good evening, everyone. It is Friday, September 15th, 5:01 p.m. Central Time, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. How are you? My name is Alan Collins. Welcome to the live stream, guys. We're Student Loan Justice. We're the oldest, largest, first, and only true grassroots group fighting only and absolutely for student loan justice. That means two things: returning bankruptcy protections to student loans, which is way more important than the second thing, which we're fighting for, is loan cancellation by executive order. Everybody wants the second thing, but we're not going to get the second thing until we get the first thing. The founding fathers called for uniform bankruptcy laws in the Constitution. That's how important they knew bankruptcy rights were. You take that away and you turn the loan into a weapon, a license to steal. So we're fighting for those two things. I'm going to try and keep tonight's live stream really short. We've got 2 interview requests. One of them is international, actually. Look on our Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/SLJ group, and you can see those interview requests. Please donate. The last I checked, I think we needed 10 people to donate $10. So we need to raise $100 over this weekend to make it through this week for this week's expenses. We can survive and thrive and fight and actually win this battle, guys, on very little funding. We can't do it on nothing, dudes. And it's going to get very rough for everybody, including me. I'm a distressed student loan borrower, so you know. It's going to get very rough for us after October 1st, and that has some dire implications for the existence of this very group. We are the reason that we're even talking about student loan cancellation by executive order. We are the reason for any number of pieces of bankruptcy legislation that we've seen and almost passed last session, by the way, over 18 years of our existence. This group is way more important than we may appear. So just please donate so I can shut up about it and so we don't disappear. So tonight, ladies and gentlemen, I have to say, we're a fiercely non-partisan group. If you're a Democrat, you're very welcome on this group. If you're a Republican, if you're a libertarian, if you're an egalitarian, or even a librarian, we don't care. You are very welcome on this group. Frankly, we hate both of the major parties in this country. It's kind of a good cop, bad cop thing. But having said that, tonight, I want to focus on how incredibly, galactically, politically stupid the GOP is, the Republican Party. So, what do we know about the Republican Party? Well, what do they say they're for? They say they're for smaller government, right? That's one of the main things that the GOP says. If you listen to Republican, presidential candidates or others, you'll hear one of the first things that they would like to do is shut down the Department of Education. So they're for big government. They don't like the educational system in this country, maybe for good reason. I don't know. I'm just going to ignore that phone. They definitely don't like the colleges. They think the colleges are indoctrinating the citizens into socialism or communism, and who knows? Maybe they're right. I don't know. We don't take a position on that whole thing. What I do know is that the Republicans claim to be fighting for smaller government. They don't like the colleges, and most of them would agree that the Department of Education needs to be shut down. So let's look at the student loan problem. The student loan system is owned and controlled by the Department of Education. The federal student loan program generates $108 billion in profit every year. Profit. Where does the government make a profit? Nowhere. Well, no, they do make a profit on student loans. $108 billion in profit now accrues every year to the Department of Education. Some of this profit, I might add, is used to subsidize liberal social programs like Obamacare. So, and not to mention, the federal student loan program is massively hurting southern red states, far worse than other states. You look at states like Texas, like Florida, like Georgia, and you see states that are so badly underwater in mostly federal student loan debt, it's frankly, to me, it's astonishing that the governors of those states haven't stood up and said, Mr. President, no more. We will not let our states be conquered and enslaved by this debt. Over half of student loan borrowers, way more than half in the southern states that I just mentioned and other red states, way more than half of student loan borrowers are either Republican or independent. According to 2020 Pew Research data, something like 70% of people who have been to college, so we assume it's kind of the same for those who have student loans, 70% of people who have been to college identify politically as being either Republican or independent. So one would think that the Republicans would look at the federal student loan program, which was conceived, built, and is now completely owned by the federal government, which funds the colleges to the tune of $100 billion a year. That money goes to the colleges, which Republicans say they don't like. You would think that they would want to do something about student loans. Well, this is how ridiculous the national dialogue has become. So Joe Biden tried to cancel student loans by executive order. The Higher Education Act gives him full unfettered authority to do that by executive order. Any amount, every nickel of federally owned student loan debt, the president and the secretary of education can cancel without needing one penny from the treasury, without adding even a nickel to the national debt. You can't say that about PPP loans. You can't say that about almost any of the other stimulus that we've seen. The Republicans, and this is along party lines, the Democrats are for loan cancellation. Republicans are dead set against it. The Republicans defeat Joe Biden's cancellation plan in the Supreme Court, and they gladly took all the credit for it. So now Biden, and I'm not saying Biden's loan cancellation was shit in the first place. It was stupid. Quite frankly, I think Biden never wanted it to succeed. And the Democrats, I would say, tricked the Republicans onto the exact wrong side of the issue, because follow the money. Who's making money off the student loan scam? The colleges, the Department of Education. Whose interest does that serve? The colleges, big government in Washington, D.C. But, you know, big government is smart, guys. And I have to say that they have plowed all kinds of money in very nefarious ways into the Republicans. A lot of conservative interests are making money off this thing. Maybe they own servicers, maybe they own collection companies, maybe they own for-profit colleges. Who knows? All I do know is that the Republicans are dead set against anything that does good things for student loan borrowers, which is 20% of the Republican base, I might add. And by the way, of all the 42 million federal student loan borrowers out there, we're talking about something like 25, 6, 7, 8 million of those borrowers are either Republican or independent, and they vote. And yet every time a beleaguered, conservative-leaning or independent student loan borrower turns on the TV or reads the newspaper about student loans, they see the Republicans wagging their finger at the student loan borrowers saying, pay your loans. Why should people who didn't go to college pay for people who did go to college? And by the way, the federal government has made a king's ransom in profit, as I said earlier, on this lending program. The president can cancel all of these loans, and on balance, the taxpayers have already made their money back. The people have already paid what they borrowed. Almost the entire federal student loan portfolio at this point is interest. But whatever, the Republicans, almost as if they're in a trance or like a zombie, a collective zombie trance, they just reflexively oppose anything that could rein in this federal loan scam. Most recently, the House Republicans coming out of the House Education and Workforce Committee advanced a bill that would stop some very, I'd say, pretty minor improvements to the various income-driven repayment plans. So Biden wants to do a new income-driven repayment plan. And I'm not going to bore you with the details of it, guys. It's called the SAVE plan. I'm sure you're being inundated by it right now. Every time you click on anything on the internet, if you're being targeted by the student loan swamp, and you probably are, the plan is just shit in the first place. All the income-driven repayment plans are cruel, vicious jokes. They are whatever they advertise doesn't matter. The overwhelming majority of people who try for them will be disqualified out of those programs. 18 years of very careful observation has informed us of that fact. All of the IDRs are cruel jokes. And so this new IDR, the SAVE plan that Biden wants to throw onto the scrap heap, apparently, which sucks. But nonetheless, the Republicans are going out of their way to stop it. And they're doing it very publicly. And this is in the House. I mean, there's no chance the Republicans can get any kind of a bill like this through Congress. It just will not happen. So the only reason the Republicans are really doing this is for show. So my question is, why do the Republicans want to go out of their way to jab an ice pick in the eyeballs of 42 million student loan borrowers? 38 of those 42 million are distressed student loan borrowers, and 70% of those distressed and undistressed student loan borrowers are either Republican or independent. It is baffling to me. It is absolutely baffling. You know, Republicans talk about, oh, look at free money. These kids want free money. No, that's all bullshit, guys. The people have paid. And, you know, I don't want to be misunderstood here. I know a lot of Republicans that are watching this, if they're even watching at this point anymore, they're probably like, man, this guy's an asshole. He's just a liberal, you know, MSNBC guy or whatever. No, that's complete bullshit. We are fiercely nonpartisan. We can't stand the Democrats. We can't stand the Republicans. And if you tune in a couple of days, I'm going to give equal time, and I'm going to do another podcast that bashes the Democrats, but not because the Democrats are stupid. The Democrats on the student loan issue are smart. And there's a few Republicans out there who are smart. People like Ron DeSantis, who called for the return of bankruptcy rights to student loans. People at the Federalist Society, who have also called for the return of bankruptcy. People like Matt Gaetz, people like Senator John Cornyn from Texas, like Senator Josh Hawley in Missouri. So I'm not talking, when I say Republicans are stupid, I don't mean rank and file Republican or even just normal people in the world who consider themselves to be conservative. I think most normal people who consider themselves to be conservative aren't stupid at all. I think they're completely uninformed on the student loan issue. And so I hope very much that if you are watching this podcast, this live stream. But what I think is that the RNC, the people running the Republican Party, have been corrupted, co-opted, captured, and compromised by the worst big government, red state wrecking, college enriching loan scam that no true conservative could ever support. So by wagging their finger at us, the borrowers, the voters, they're accomplishing two things. They're perpetuating the worst big government college enriching loan scam in the history of this country. And by the way, it's catastrophically failed. There is no keeping this sucker alive. The lending system is finished. The pandemic was the nail in the coffin. So it's pretty much a futile task to even try and keep this disaster going. But that's what they are trying to do. But they're also succeeding in viciously alienating 25, 6, 7 million conservatives and independents who, all things being equal, would be strongly inclined to vote for them. But I'm here to tell you that if you're losing sleep over your student loans, like probably most of our members are, and 85% of all student loan borrowers are, this issue is top of mind. You might not tell a polling company that that's true. You might not even tell your wife or your girlfriend or your significant other, your partner, your family, your friends. You might not even tell them about your student loan issues, particularly if you're a conservative. For some reason, conservatives are just way less vocal about student loan injustice than people on the other side of the aisle. But that is what the that is what the GOP, that is what the RNC, that is what the brain trust that's running the Republican Party are accomplishing. You wonder what happened to the red wave in 2022 during the midterms? Student loans happened. As I said, it may never come out in a poll, but that is what happened. You wonder what happened in the presidential election of 2020? Same thing. You look at battleground states like Michigan, like Georgia, like Nevada, I'd say Arizona, Pennsylvania, and even I would say North Carolina as well. And you're talking about states where student loan debt, mostly federal student loan debt, exceeds their entire state budgets. Like, look at Florida, $120 billion in mostly federal student loan debt hanging around the necks of the people of Florida. That's like 12 or 10, more than 12, closer to 20 times the annual revenue of Florida's largest employer, Disney World. Annual revenue of Disney World, best I could determine, was somewhere around $7 or $8 billion. So interest alone on that is more than, for the state of Florida, interest alone on that federal student loan debt is more than the annual revenue of Disney World. Like, that's all the money that Disney World gets in going out the door and going largely to the books of the Department of Education in Washington, D.C. What true conservative can be for that? I don't know. It's just mind-blowing, guys. It's just mind-blowing. And I hope that if you're conservative, you've bared your way through this unpleasant live stream to simply consider the facts. As I said, we hate the Democrats. We hate the Republicans. We feel, at least I feel, it's kind of a uniparty thing. And 18 years of very careful observation has informed us of that fact. I would only tell everyone out there who considers himself to be conservative, libertarian, Republican, whatever, you need to rethink everything you thought you knew about student loans, because you are being played for a fool by the colleges, by the Department of Education, and by a vast network of, I would say, probably politically amoral, politically neutral, or politically expedient wealthy entities, which encompass both the Democratic and Republican parties, if you will. It's the uniparty. It's the deep state. It's old money. It's old wealth. But you're being played for a fool. And, you know, the whole divide and conquer thing, yeah, you're getting that played on you. And when you wag your finger at student loan borrowers, you're not wagging your finger at liberals. You're wagging your finger at normal people, most of whom are over the age of 35, most of whom are either Republican or independent. I kid you not. It's true. Now, I can also say that most borrowers are either Democratic or independent too, because the independent in the middle, that's like 40%. That really sucks a lot of the air out of the room. So, so I don't want to be misleading here. But it's true that most student loan borrowers are either Republican or independent. And these people are not blue-haired liberals. They're not young either. I think I already said that. A lot of them are veterans. A lot of them are people who never graduated. They work with their hands. A lot of them went to trade schools, community colleges, etc. Don't be a fucking fool, and don't buy into the partisan nonsense, that propaganda that is being seared into your brain. Be smarter than that. And hopefully you won't forget everything I said tonight. So that's my that's my elegy for this evening. And I hope that if you are a conservative and you came into this broadcast thinking one thing, I really hope that you're thinking a very different thing here right now. So, and I would only urge those of you who are out there. I'm going to screen share a list of the co-sponsors in the Republican Party now, and this will be the last thing I do. Here are the co-sponsors to this House joint resolution seeking to very publicly kill that stupid income-driven repayment plan that I discussed earlier. These are the fake. These are the uniparty Republicans you really want to watch out for. They are, almost all of them, I'm sure, are on the dole. They've been corrupted, captured, and compromised by the student loan industry. So you can see the list for yourself. Hopefully it shows up with the resolution of this live stream. Chief among them being Virginia Fox, Republican, North Carolina, and on down the list. It's a pretty long list. I want to say there's like 29 or so co-sponsors. Guys, I would only say, look at this list, and if one of these people are your House of Representatives representative, would you please get rid of these people? They work for the uniparty. They don't work for you. They're not conservative. They're fighting for the worst big government monstrosity ever. I'm going to scroll one more time just so you see the whole list. And, maybe replace them, maybe primary them and replace them with another Republican. That's perfectly fine with me. But these people have got to go, by and large. Nobody, they're just idiots. They're not fighting for conservative values. And they ought to be ashamed of themselves for calling themselves conservatives when what they are actually doing here is fighting for the colleges, fighting for big government, fighting for the Department of Education, and don't be fooled. So that's the list, guys. Get rid of these people, primary them. There's bad. As far as I'm concerned, I would love to see probably 95% of every sitting member of Congress replaced, quite frankly. But, crawl before you walk. I would love to see all of these people get primaried. There's a ton of Democrats out there who are similarly, their true fealty is to the uniparty. And that's what's going on here. So here's the bad list on the Republican side for you to key in on. I'll have a bad list on the Democratic side for you to key in on at some point as well. So I will finally finish this live stream. I don't think I'm going to be able to get to all of your comments tonight, guys. I do apologize for that, but I'm trying to keep my live stream shorter these days. I will simply close tonight's live stream by saying we need you in this fight. We can't depend on anybody but you. You can't depend on anybody but yourself to fight and win this problem. This is a working fighting group. We don't blow smoke up people's asses. We need you in the trenches with us fighting. It's going to get very real and very ugly after October 1st, and you can't unhear that. We need your help. The very least that you can do if you actually want to help this group, and we are the largest group in the country, by the way. We've got 1.4 million members, at least on paper, but that's meaningless unless everybody is helping. So the one easiest and most efficient use of your time that you can do are our daily actions. We do daily actions nearly every day, probably 4 or 5 times a week. We do daily actions. Go to that link or just go to our website, studentloanjustice.org. Get into the habit of doing our daily actions. They're quick. You got to have a Twitter account. That's 80% of our daily actions is Twitter stuff. Get a Twitter account. Get into the habit of doing our daily actions every day. They help. And if 1.4 million people were doing them every day, and they could, and they should, we would have the student loan problem solved in a matter of probably weeks, probably not even a month. If 1.4 million people were retweeting our stuff, if 1.4 million people were melting the phone banks of every member of Congress in Washington, D.C. on a daily basis, can you imagine? That would be the largest movement in the American history. 1.4 million people a day. That would be something that Washington, D.C. has never seen anything like it in the history of this country. So we could be strong. We could be stronger than any political movement in this country has ever seen before, guys. But it all starts with you. And I hope that you understand that this is your battle. These are your loans. And we could be a part of something very great here, ladies and gentlemen, but it all starts with you. In the immortal words of fictional hero John Connor from Terminator, you have no idea how important you could be. So, okay, guys, I'm going to leave it there at that. I will look at all of your comments after the fact and respond to them over the course of the evening. But just please remember what I said. Send this broadcast to a Republican or conservative that you know, and let's solve this problem. I'll see you on Sunday. Good luck. Godspeed. And God bless everyone. And please donate. Please donate. Please donate.